Exchanges are the most profitable business in all of crypto. They print fees with enormous volumes, and typically exchange tokens outperform the rest of the market. In fact, BNB is the only token to consistently make higher highs and higher lows against Bitcoin cycle to cycle. And now the second largest perps exchange, Bybit, are rolling up Mantle deep into their ecosystem. Fee discounts, even pairs that are denominated in Mantle. This is starting to look more and more like an exchange token, not just another L2. And I don't think the market has quite realized what it could mean yet. This video is for information and entertainment only. It reflects my personal opinions and is not financial advice. Check the description for more information. Always do your own research. To understand the relationship between Mantle and Bybit, we need to go back a little bit. There was a project that was founded in 2021 called 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was founded by Bybit and a bunch of other prominent VCs in the space like Banter. This DAO was created to try and incubate new and exciting projects, of which one was Mantle. The entire 𝗏𝗏𝗏 project actually became Mantle. Holders of 𝗏𝗏𝗏 would migrate their tokens into Mantle. This process actually caused a very large 𝗏𝗏𝗏/MNT burn, taking a bunch of tokens out of circulation. It meant that the Mantle treasury now holds about 44% of the supply, and the rest of the supply is fully circulating. So Mantle truly is Bybit's baby from the start. And you can see actually Mantle has one of the largest treasuries in all of crypto. This treasury, as I said, is made up primarily of Mantle tokens though. So you can see here, 93% of their treasury is held in Mantle. But here's where things get really interesting. Last week, there was an AMA. In this AMA, we had Mantle CEOs and Bybit CEOs all talking together to try and tell the community exactly what is happening from this partnership and this deeper integration. From that AMA, we learned a few things. First of all, Mantle has direct utility on Bybit. They're going to use it a little bit like BNB, using it for launchpad projects or launch pool projects, have some kind of structured way of utilizing Mantle pairs. But the thing that gets me the most is you can use Mantle to pay for discounts in trading fees on the platform. Now, Bybit has very large volumes, right? We're talking $30-ish million a day. This is 27 to 45 mil here. But even if a very small portion of users utilize MNT to try and gain these trading fee discounts, we could see pretty big demand on MNT generally. And the other tokens that are similar to this are Binance and Hyperliquid, right? Because both these tokens have a very similar situation where they have a chain plus the exchange and integrations between the two. For Binance, for example, this is just an idea of trying to value BNB holistically. We've got the chain, we've got the exchange, and then a valuation for the launchpad. Hyperliquid, again, something that has multiple different facets in trying to tie together exactly what it's worth, but the vast majority of what it's worth sits inside its valuation as a perps DEX, right? In the case of Hyperliquid, it's hard to say that the chain is quite as valuable as the perps DEX. The chain just being an EVM fork that essentially sits as infrastructure that ties into the core product. And so I tried to give an estimate for how much MNT could be absorbed by Bybit users that are trying to get those fee discounts. Again, this is not quite the same as like a Hyperliquid buyback mechanism that the assistance fund deploys. If you don't know, the assistance fund in Hyperliquid buys about 93% of the token from fees that are generated every single day. But BNB used to have a quarterly burn that was enormous. It's now a bit different. We're going to base this off their old burn because I think that's really truly why BNB is so valuable now. But if we take a conservative guess that 10% of users of Bybit are going to try and buy MNT to reduce their trading fees, what we see is that basically this yields about $570,000 in daily buy volume if you extrapolate that out over the year. If you take a relatively stronger case, about 30% of people on Bybit buying MNT to utilize the trading discount fees, we get 2.46 bill a year. And if like a crazy bull case, 60% of all their users end up buying MNT for those discounts, you're talking like $7.2 billion a year. Now, I don't think this is very likely, but you can see that if it falls anywhere in this range here, between 10% and 30% of users of Bybit buying MNT to get those trading fee discounts, in terms of the daily percent of buyback as directed to market cap, and what we can see is that if we get, I think it's probably going to be between 10 and maybe 30% of users of Bybit end up buying MNT to get those trading fee discounts. We're going to see somewhere in the region of like 0.14 to 0.6% of the supply of MNT being bought back per day. To compare that to Hyperliquid right now, based upon recent revenues of like $3-ish million a day, buy back about 0.023% of their supply every day. This equates to like almost 10% of the circulating supply being pulled off the market every single year by the assistance fund. And to compare this to how Binance have done their quarterly burns, right? At current prices, Binance are taking about, on their previous burns, 0.1% out the market a day. But obviously when BNB was much cheaper, I mean, it's just hit all-time highs like, $8.50 or so. BNB was $400, 4 or 5 years ago, $300, etc. This was actually much, much higher. Their fees haven't really changed much in that period of time. So this was actually probably more like Hyperliquid levels, or if not a tiny bit higher, back when BNB was a little bit cheaper. So these exchange tokens that have some kind of value accrual back to the token, they have shown to be very resilient. And in the case of Binance and Hyperliquid, have obviously done very, very well. Okay, now what I try to do is put all this together into some kind of estimation for what potentially we could attribute to Mantle's valuation based upon its Bybit integration. Now, you can plus and minus percentage points away from this, but this is just like some rough numbers that I've come to. And in terms of Binance's valuation of the exchange, directly tied into the token over all the years that they've had these quarterly burns, we're talking about 39 billion out of a true valuation of like 117 billion. Now, if we take those numbers and we make an estimate for, okay, well, Binance take 50% of the perp market share, Bybit take 18%, that means that a fair valuation based upon Binance's perp market share relative to their exchange valuation puts the valuation for Mantle at like 14 billion. Obviously, it's much higher than it is right now. However, if we take the same thing for Hyperliquid, we get this absolutely wild assumption of 86 billion FDV for Mantle, because Bybit are doing, over 2x Hyperliquid's volumes, right? Now, I don't think this one's very relevant, to be honest, but I do think this kind of Binance one potentially is a bit more within the realm of reason. Now, I could be completely wrong on the integration of Mantle into Bybit's ecosystem, but we've seen exchanges are the breakthrough products in crypto. They're the ones that make the most money. Bybit just shrugged off a $1.5 billion hack from a North Korean hacking group. So the amount of money they've got behind them is enormous. These guys are sitting on piles of cash. Integrating a token that's trading at about $8 billion FDV fully into their ecosystem seems to me like something I'm very interested in. So this is why Mantle's come across my radar, and it definitely highlights that kind of main product in crypto. People want to trade, and people want to trade with size. Bybit are offering both those things, and maybe this could be the integration that takes it from another pretty boring L2 into something that's fully integrated into their exchange. So this mismatch looks like it's something that's worth paying attention to, but you let me know. Is the best play here BNB? Is the best play here Hype? Or is the best play here Mantle? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an excellent day, and I shall see you in the next one.